Good evening and welcome to the stream. On tonight's stream, which is part 7 of this particular series. We are going to visit the town of Vulcania, which is the 4th town in the game, and continue our quest in completing this game. In part 6, we ventured into the outside world of this game in Square C2, and we finished up most of Korok's Cave, which was on that map, and we finished exploring and mapping Square C1 as well. And at the end of the stream, we leveled up the characters, so at this point all the characters are at level 9, and I think we're ready to explore the town of Vulcania and most likely descend into the cavern beneath the city as well, and hopefully get somewhere there. But without further ado, let's skip into the game itself. Again, I'm going to leave some music on in the background and play the game without the in-game sound. The in-game sound mostly consists of some random samples, and I like to have something soothing in the background while I play. So we saved the game in the first town, the town of Middlegate, last night, so the first job for now is to use the teleports, which are in every town, to travel to the 4th town, and we do that by traveling from town 1 to 2, and 2 to 3, and 3 to 4. The portal system is a circle, so once you reach the 5th town, which is the last town in the game, you can travel back to the first one. So now we've arrived here. We went here for a brief moment on the last stream because we needed to learn some spells after leveling up, but other than that we haven't explored this town yet. So we will start by doing a walk around. The game offers an auto map feature which will map every square that we step into and save that if we enter into an inn after visiting them. And that relies on the characters having learned the cartographer's skill, and there are 2 active members in the party that have this particular skill. And as long as they're alive, we will continue mapping every square. Now, this is the bar, and it's as nice a place as any to start mapping. Raising a cup of meat, Gabriella, the gorgeous barmaid, winks seductively while softly asking, "Would you like to use my services?" Well, since you ask nicely, yes we would. And the things we can do at the bar is buy a feeding frenzy, which is basically 40 units of food for the entire party, which we need to use while resting. We use 1 unit of food, and it's very expensive in this town. It's 250, while in the first town it's only 20. So what we tend to do, we tend to travel back to the first town where everything is priced lower, and then we can have some drinks, which are basically potions, and also some specialties which have various effects on the party. But what we do at every bar is that we tip the bartender a few times until we get a hint of some sort. There's always at least one, and we got one hint there which says Slayer 6 Death. And what I do in this game is that I keep an open text document where I jot down all of these little hints, and we will tip a little more, see if we get a second hint. Slayer 6 Death. And we will also listen for rumors, and the rumor overheard is that Manticore is at D268. Hello, Well Sharoon, thanks very much for the host. Welcome people from Well Sharoon's channel. So as I was saying, it's interesting. I played through number 1 on the. I played the PC version of number 1, and 2 is in many ways similar to 1, in that it's a bit of a grind, and the nicest interface of that, in my opinion, on 2 is on this Mac. So I use this Mac emulator to play it. I played this game back in the day, and I still have the original box from when I played it, and it was played on a Mac, and I'm playing it again on a Mac. It's fun. It's very challenging, and you have to take care of running to the inn fairly frequently to save your process, and but for the most part it's fun. We haven't made it very far yet. I've only leveled up to level 9, and this is part 7, and most of the streams have been up to 3 hours, so I've been playing for almost 21 hours, and I'm still at level 9, so things are going slowly but surely. This is the only hint we're going to get here, I think, but I've jotted it down into the document, so we can continue with our map of this particular level. Thanks for the follow, Valcheroon. So the classes that we have, I'm playing with the original characters that came with the game. I changed the names, but they're basically the original characters, and I have a knight which I named Sir Lancelot, and then I have a paladin which is a good male dwarf. I have an archer which is a neutral female human. I have a robber that is evil male and an elf. I have a cleric that is good male and a gnome, and I have a sorcerer that is a neutral female elf. And in addition to the 6 members of the party, I also have 2 hirelings, which are Drogue, a neutral male human barbarian, and Sir Hiren, which is another knight. I found these hirelings in beneath the city of Millgate, in the Cavern there, and I had them join the party, and I have been leveling them up with my own characters, and Sir Hiren has been a pretty good hire. He now costs about 42 gold a day, which isn't excessive, but Drogue the Barbarian, he is now at 753 gold a day, and that's very excessive, so I'm hoping I will soon find some other hirelings so I can basically leave Drogue at a nearby inn and continue exploring without him. So I will save my progress here. This is the 4th town in the game. We've already explored the first 3 and the caverns beneath them, as well as exploring 2 of the outside areas in the game of the 20. Yeah, he's very expensive, and what happens with the hirelings is that their cost hikes up with every level increase, and he was originally fairly expensive, much more expensive than his knight brother, and with every level his cost increases. So he was at level 8 in the last stream, and he was 440, and now that we leveled up to level 9, his cost increased by some 300 plus per day, and that's getting almost ridiculously expensive, because he's a very good fighter in the sense that he does a lot of damage, but he's also very difficult to equip, because The barbarian class in this game can only wear the leather suit. He can't wear any more capable armor, and he can't wear a shield, and he can wear a helm. So basically that's the only armor he can wear. So his armor class is only 11. So despite having some 102 hit points, he's also very often the first to become unconscious of the crew in the front. So it's a bit of a drag, because he does a lot of damage with his weapon. Yeah, sure, well, sure, see you in a bit. So here are the stairs to the cavern. That's good to know. And there's a little square here that is hidden that we must find the entrance to, which is here. And there doesn't appear to be anything in here. And there is another hidden room here on this side, which is probably accessible from the room that contains the inn. On the other side, it's actually not. Let's see. Might be accessible from here as well. Yes, it is. This is an encounter, so we'll get our weapons out here. Try to take care of these Kurd slayers before, because they will slowly curse the party. Having leveled up now to level 9 means that we have access to the swarm spell of the cleric, which is the in my opinion the first usable combat spell for the clerics. It does a bit of damage to quite a few of the enemies, whereas the ones before it, including there's a level 2 spell called Pain, which does limited damage to one enemy, and there's Cold Ray, which is also a fairly limited spell, and Acid Spray as well. So Deadly Swarm is effective, can do quite a bit of damage to multiple enemies. So it's useful to have leveled up to level 9, so we now have a more useful combat spell for the cleric. Now this is the portal to the 5th town in the game, housed inside this little room here. Won't use that quite yet. Every time I walk around an area that I haven't explored before, I turn around to face every wall, because there's a potential message hidden on every wall. Here is an interesting room. It has a scale, and just to be absolutely sure that it doesn't cause us any damage, I'm going to take a quick snapshot here of the party status, and at least the status of one character before I step on it. Okay, what the scale does is it tells us the resistance to the various elements that we have built up using our current equipped items, as well as our levels. So Sir Lancelot has 16 resistance to energy, some 30 to sleep, 30 to poison, 5 to electricity, and 5 to cold. And the cleric has 35 to magic, 18 to sleep, 16 to poison. This is all dependent on the items mostly that we're wearing and the armor. There are certain armor items like the silver items and the iron items, as well as the items that have a prefix like S or B or G before it. They offer additional resistance. The archer has an S scale mail +2, for example. The S items provide additional protection. They have protection from energy +15. So if we were to step on the scale now for the archer, it would tell us that his resistance to energy is some 17, 15 of which are directly deduced from his S scale mail +1, and 2 which are his current spell level. He's at spell level 2. So as the characters gain levels, they also become more immune, and this becomes more important later in the game when we start fighting more monsters that throw various different spells at us or belong to some difficult elements. There are monsters from pretty much every element in this game. Learn the ancient secrets. Every weapon hides. The master of accuracy charges 500 gold. Do you pay? Yes. Now accuracy would be something that would be good for William Tell the archer, so I'm going to allow him to learn the arms master skill. It will increase his accuracy and allow him to be better at this game. We will return to those skills later. Not every character currently has 2 skills, but we're saving some spots. We already have the cartographer skill, which we added to 2 characters. Then you need the pathfinder skill to explore the outside, and you need 2 characters to have the pathfinder skill, so one of the hirelings also has it. And then we also have the mountaineer skill. The mountaineer and the pathfinder skill are involved with being able to explore forested areas, as well as being able to explore mountainous areas on the outside. So those are 2 skills that we need. So we've used up already used up the 2 skill points of the knight and the 2 skill points of the paladin, as well as the 2 skill points of the first hireling, and there are many other skills that we haven't learned up to this point, and we are in no great hurry to do so. We will do so as the need arises. This is the sorcerer's guild in this particular town. In every town there is a sorcerer's guild, which enables us to learn certain sorcerer spells, and we're not quite level high enough to be able to take advantage of this one. And we also need to find a character that is willing to sell us entrance to the guild, because we can't gain access to the guild without purchasing a pass to be able to use it, which we have to pay a little bit of gold for. I'm somewhat curious as to how to access this fairly large secret area here. Here it is. There's always a way in, and that way in is not always the same way as the way out, although it often is. There are lots of hungry plants here, and I would use this wondrous deadly swarm spell, and it took care of some almost 10 monsters. And using spell, we basically got rid of a whole lot of them. It's now too dangerous to rest here, so we have a useful spell for that, which is the shelter spell. And that actually isn't even enough to be able to rest. So we will have to continue without resting. What the shelter spell does is it's supposed to provide you with one day free from being attacked. But in this case, that wasn't sufficient. The snapping spores did a real number on the barbarian, and you can see that his low number of hit points really is a problem at this stage. Although he has 102 hit points, he was already down to 2, which is definitely a problem. And we still can't rest, so now I'm going to check if we can get out again, because that would mean that we would be able to rest, and we could. It's not wise to continue with a low number of hit points. In some of these areas, particularly down in the dungeons, where things tend to be a little bit more difficult, there is an entrance into a secret area like this, and the exit is on the other side, so you can't get out again without having conquered the battles found within. Which is a smart move by the game, but pretty difficult for us. I think I will cast a little healing on Sir Roland for proceeding, since he only has some 4 hit points. It's the robber is still at a level where the trap can easily explode and cause a significant amount of damage, so it's better to not have very few hit points so we don't accidentally kill a party member. Let's see what we have here. The arachnoids have moved in front. We are lucky enough to, after leveling up to level 9, to have found some spells which are able to remove almost every condition. We have a cure poison spell, we have a cure disease spell, we have a remove condition spell, and those spells should be enough to remove pretty much any condition the character is in. We've now already used all of them because Sir Lancelot is cursed, and we can remove the cursed condition by using the spell. Previously, before we managed to level up to level 9, we had to visit the temple to remove the cursed condition, and the cursed condition makes it more difficult for us to inflict damage on the enemy, so we often had to resort to going back in the middle of a quest down a cavern somewhere to heal up. So that helps, not having to do that. We've now completed every square of this little secret room here, and there appear to be no hidden messages scrolled around anywhere. So we will simply go out again. Now there appears to be something, there's probably something similar on this side, but we will explore and see what we find here. An unmarked door. The Silver-Tongued Illusionist will allow you to join the prestigious local mage guild for the special price of 10,000 gold. Act now, yes, we will buy our entrance. In the first town, the price for entrance into the guild was 20 gold. Now it's 10,000, so that's price hiking for you. And this is a very expensive town, and it pays to not use the services here unless we desperately need to do so, or if they're not available anywhere else. For the common services, it pays to go back. Now we're in a hidden room here. I am Sergeant Stefan Payne. For 500 gold, join my private helm and increase your pathetic stamina. Train. Yeah, this is probably a useful skill. And I'm very tempted to allow the archer to learn this skill as well. So he will now have learned, he's both an arms master and a soldier, and these are useful skills for someone that is in battle. They would also come very much in handy in the frontline characters of Sir Lancelot and Sir Roland, but it's also fairly important that the characters up in front that have the highest armor class have both the mapping skill and the mountaineering and pathfinding skill, because we do not want the characters that have these skills to become to die, because that means that we are unable to move on in a forested area or in a mountainous area, and that could mean that we could be trapped inside the map, or at least have to go a very inconvenient way out of it. So it's a trade that we have to make. We could move these skills further down and risk having them on characters which have a low number of hit points, but we aren't stuck with the choices that we make here either. There is a service in the second town called the brain detoxification, which enables us to remove the skills that we've learned and relearn some new skills. So if we come to regret this and want to make the soldiers in front learn these skills as well, we can do that and move the secondary skills down the line. Now this was a fairly difficult battle, but we survived. The druid is a difficult beast because although he's easy enough to beat down with the melee weapons, he also has this ability to cast a silence spell, and once a magical caster has the silence spell inflicted on him, he's unable to cast any magic. Hey Hitch, welcome to the stream. It's pretty late in your part of the woods, right, at this point? Okay, at this point we can't even use magic in this particular location, so 2 AM is early, yeah. That of course depends on when you have to get up. This is a fairly difficult battle because the dancing bones that are in the front here, they are mostly immune to melee weapons. Thanks for the host, Hitch. So the fact that they're immune to melee weapons means that we have to use magical means of attacking them, and the fact that we can't cast magic is making that difficult. So what we will have to do here is we will have to focus our energy on using the ranged weapons whenever we can. And there is only one character in the party that is currently capable of hurting the dancing bones, and that is William Tell the Archer, because his bow has magical properties. So what we have to do here, we have to slowly try to shoot down the rest of them as we can, and focus the archer on taking out the dancing bones, and hope that we don't run out of hit points in the meantime. And the characters in front are unable to use their ranged weapons because they are in front. So in some cases we will simply have to waste our turn on attacking the dancing bones when we know for a fact that we can't kill them. But at least now one of the other monsters has moved to the front, so we can use our energy on them directly without having to just shoot at them. However, there are quite a few of them left at this point. There are some 20 of these monsters left, including 17 of these woodsmen. But at least we're able to start beating them down. Yeah, this series and these games are great. It depends. Do you like these old RPGs? There is a lot of at least to start. You have to grind quite a bit. It's difficult to level up, and you have to think about every step that you make. Yeah, if you like the old school dungeon crawlers, you'll like these games. They're very much fun, but they're not for the they're perhaps not for the beginner, because they tend to be they would make you very frustrated if you're not used to the usual grinding that needs to take place. I originally played this game on my father's Mac SE, So I'm playing it again on a Mac using an emulator. And it's essentially exactly the same game, but I am playing it in color this time around. And what will happen here now is that we will die, because we weren't able to use any healing spells, and we weren't able to use any magic. So this was a very, very difficult battle, which we didn't stand much a chance of beating, but trying is fun. So now we will have to return to our mapping mission, map the rest of the level again, and save. One of the things is that this game makes it slightly more difficult to save your progress. You need to the only way to save is to go back to the inn. You need to go back to the inn and check in and check out. That's the only way to save the game. So if you're on the outside in a dungeon, you need to go back to town to save. And I tend to like that because it means that you need to be careful at all times of what you're doing. It's kind of like I've seen a lot of people complain about the survival mode of games like The Long Dark, and the fact that it is a permadeath is precisely what I like about the game. It means that you play the game in a different way, because you know that you could die at any point. If you could save your if you could save at any point in this game and just enter into the battle again and again and just trust the dice, the game would be so much easier. And I don't think it would be half as fun. So, as it is, you quite often end up in a situation where you will just die. And this is a perfect example of that. Here we're faced with some 18 of these crazed natives, and they're definitely going to kill us. What they do is they frenzy and they explode and they kill everything inside. So a lot of these battles are just a roll of the dice. So you can get lucky and you can get extremely unlucky, and in this instance we got very unlucky. Yeah, they're very tough, and the levels of the monsters that you face are somewhat tied to your level, and they're somewhat tied to just the roll of the dice. So sometimes you get extremely unlucky, and you can even get extremely unlucky twice. Now we're in exactly the same square, and all we have here are some mutant shrines and some poltergeists, which are much, much easier enemies. Significantly more easier. The ones at the top are undead, so we'll leave them until we get to the cleric, and have the cleric use the turn undead spell to take some of them out, and that leaves us with some 10 undead monsters. I'm gonna be on for probably another 2 hours, so you can go take a fairly long walk, and I'll still be here when you get back. Okay, see you in a bit. What I'm going to do now, which I didn't do before because I got a little cocky, and as I've said multiple times in this game, every time you get a little bit cocky you die, is that when I'm done with this particular part, I'm going to go back and save our progress so that we don't lose the progress that we made. In this particular case, the focus now is on removing these acidic blobs, because they will spray every character in the party with acid, which is bad news. So we want them out of the way as soon as possible. And unlike some of these monsters which are unable to attack us multiple times, these are also, they don't die when they spew their acid, so they can do this again and again and again. And this was a very difficult battle, and I was able to run away, which helped. Now we're facing some of these illusionists, and what makes them dangerous is that they drain spell level, but they're however easy enough to kill in melee battle, so this is in fact not a difficult battle at all. However, if you mix them with hard-hitting monsters which you need to use magic on, then they're very scary. And a Night Stalker is fairly scary. He does a lot of damage to us, so we will focus our efforts on him, and but also on curing the party members, because we want to keep as many of them alive as possible for as long as possible. Like the last time that we fought these battles, these monsters are not terribly difficult to kill, and we are able to just mostly plow them down. Some of the difficulty in this game revolves around knowing when you are level high enough to go somewhere. We are obviously now at a level high enough to attack this particular map, but we perhaps would not have been just one level ago. So sometimes you need to do as we did on the last stream, go on the outside and explore some more areas, and fight off some monsters, gain some experience, level up, and then come back and try again. We'll make another attempt at this. We got unlucky last time, and chances are we'll get unlucky this time as well. This at least did a fair number on us, so I think we will just simply try again. The advantage of this time is that we were smart enough to go back to the inn and save our progress, so we don't lose the progress that we made until that point. This is slightly easier. We have these minor demons here, but they generally wait their turn a little bit. The should try our best to get rid of them. Now let's see. It's unlikely that we're able to kill all of them before the next turn. But we survived without anyone dying, which was basically the only goal. The first round of the minor demon is always a little bit tougher. He can attack more on the first round than he can in the later rounds. He seems to run out of these energy balls that he casts. But we lost the sorcerer. But other than that, we're actually doing okay. Let's see. We need to remove the condition, the poison condition here, as soon as we can. Let's focus on that first. Then I will search for treasure. And we'll go outside, and we need to visit the temple and heal up. Since we lost the sorcerer, I would like to get her back before continuing. Here's the temple. So we're interested in the sorcerer, restoring her condition. It's very expensive to do that in this town. As I mentioned before, the services in this town are hugely expensive. However, if we go all the way back to town number 1, we will have to have this fight again. So this is a battle with 7 illusionists. This is a much easier battle than we had in this square just a moment ago. So we can now go outside and rest, and there's probably at least 1 encounter left before we're finished with these squares here. Yeah, here's at least 1 more. And again, we can't use magic, so we will have to rely on slowly beating them down with melee weapons, which is far more difficult. And what makes this even more difficult is that the enemy has some 6 monsters on the front line. We only have 3, so we have to use ranged weapons a lot to fight. The cursed corpse is the reverse of the monsters that we were fighting earlier, in the sense that it's mostly immune to magical attacks, and it is not immune to melee attacks. So we need to focus the melee attacks on the corpse, and use the magical attacks on the other monsters to use as many of our opportunities to fight as we can. And I like our chances in this fight quite a bit more than I liked them earlier. I think we have a decent opportunity here, although it's difficult. What, however, is potentially very dangerous for us here is the cockatrices, and we want to get rid of them as quickly as possible before he stones every last one of us. So far we've only had 1 character turn to stone. I will change. The rapid rodents that are below are very easy to fight, so once we get rid of the cursed corpse and the cockatrices, we will be in good hands. We won't have much left of the fight. We survived. We're pretty banged up, but we survived. Now we are unable to. It's a question of whether we take our chances here, searching for the treasure, and hope the trap doesn't explode, and it doesn't. So, as we are unable to rest, we have to go out to rest. And if we had left the chest there, we would have lost the treasure, because as soon as you leave the square, you can't get the treasure back. We need to remove the quest condition here. Then we need to cure disease. I'm not sure if I can use the remove condition spell on the members that is stoned. No, we're not able to do that. So we would have to visit the temple to restore that. But at least it won't cost us, because the hirelings seem to pay for themselves at the temple. They're healed automatically without you having to pay for it. That's a saving of 2700 gold, which is great. So here's the last battle. There are quite a few of these sewer rats, which are easy enough to take care of, and 4 of these are inept wizards. And I assume we can't cast any spells, so we will simply have to beat all of these down. And this is an easy fight. It won't pose much of a problem to us, particularly after the other ones we've gone through. Well, there is nothing more here. It's just a bunch of encounters to an experience. And we also found some pretty great items, which I'll go through in a while when we visit the blacksmith. Now let's see. There's one room down there that we haven't mapped yet. It's not this room, it's the room above. It's the training academy. This is where we go to level up. We are a fair way away from leveling up to level 10. The single skill characters are about 100,000 experience points away, whereas the double skill characters, such as that's the archer and the paladin, which are both fighters and magical casters, they're about 200,000 points away. So that will take us a while to reach. This is an easy enough fight. We're just completing it to have the square mapped correctly. Now we're mostly done with the lower part of this town. There's one square down there that we haven't added to the map yet, but there was absolutely nothing in it. So now I'm going to go save our progress, and then I'm going to go visit the blacksmith, and I will use that trip to decide which of these weapons we're going to take a better look at, because the items that are worth examining will be worth quite a bit. Here we have a scale armor +5, and is potentially useful, because the scale armor can be worn by every member of the cast except for the sorcerers, which also means that it's potentially useful for the archer, and it's also potentially useful for the barbarian. And seeing as the barbarian is in front, we might finally have found some armor that will help the barbarian. So if we remove the leather suit, we go from 11 to 8, and if we equip the scale armor, Yes, it's limited in alignment, so as often the case with these items that you find that they can't be worn by characters of all alignments. In this case, at least neutral alignment characters can't wear this particular armor. So now we will try the archer next. He's also neutral, so he won't be able to wear it. The robber is evil. We'll try him next. Remove his ring mail and equip him with a scale armor +5, and that doesn't work, so that means that it's only good characters that can wear this armor, so that limits us to the cleric. So he's currently at 11. I'll remove his B splint mail +1, which gives added protection to poison. And I will trade that with the paladin and move this scale armor down to the cleric and equip that there, and that brings our armor class for the cleric up to 12, which is slightly higher. And I will take a look at Sir Roland. His current plate armor is obviously a much better armor than the B splint mail, so his condition won't improve with it. And the same goes for Sir Hiron, so we will move this splint mail down to the robber and store the item there, since the previous items have more value, and I will hold on to them a little bit more, but for all intents and purposes, all this did for us was increase his armor level by 1. And then we have here a plate armor +2, and that is some 12 AC for a knight or a paladin. This knight already has a plate armor +3. He has Sir Roland the paladin has a plate armor +3. So does Sir Hiron. So all of the knights and the paladins already have more capable plate armor than this, so we will simply sell it. Then there's a flaming sword +1, and that gives additional protection from fire and also causes some temp damage and can be used by an archer. It's quite tempting to see if the archer already has a better weapon than this. He already has the exacto spear, which is more useful to us, and the Sir Hiron the knight. This is a better weapon than Sir Hiron has, so we will trade the weapon with the knight and hope that it isn't limited by alignment. I will remove the saber and equip the flaming sword instead. That worked, so now we've got a better weapon for the Hireling Knight. That's useful. Then we also have a crossbow +3, a potentially useful item for the robber, which is I very often use as a ranged fighter, hoping that he's able to wear it. He has a crossbow +1, and trading it with a crossbow +3 means that we are able to inflict 2 more damage points per turn. Sir Hiron only has a longbow, so it's very tempting to move the crossbow +1 over to Sir Hiron, have him equip that, and sell the longbow. It's very often a case of this Sokoban when you're moving these weapons around. We also have a helm +2, which is I find very doubtful that we can take. Well, this knight doesn't have a helm, so we can move it down to Sir Hiron and equip him with a helm. That should give us some 4 more armor class points. A significant amount. So, and then there are some more items that we need to trade to the knight that is in front of the party, because the Droke the hireling is not able to use the shop. Only the player characters are allowed to use the shop. We have a spear here +5. I'm going to take a look at. I don't think we will use it. I will simply sell it. So what we gained was a better bow for the hireling knight, some better armor for the hireling knight, a better melee weapon for the hireling knight, and a slightly better armor for the cleric. So that's some good work so far in this town. Now I will continue down this corridor here, and we will leave the unmarked doors until we finish exploring the other areas. Usually the unmarked doors are more dangerous, not always more dangerous, but there's a higher chance of an encounter when you go through an unmarked door. Here is another hidden square that has nothing of value. We already did this before, but I'm going to do it again. So now I trained William Tell to be both an arms master and a soldier. Let's see. Here's a locksmith which offers us the red key, and we will buy ourselves a copy of the red key. We already have some of these keys. And what I do is I have the cleric in the party carry the keys, so I don't accidentally sell them at the blacksmith, because the cleric is next to last in the line of characters, and it also helps me to know that my keys are in one place. If you sell these keys, you get very little value for them, and you simply have to buy them again for a much higher price. So it's just a matter of losing some money. The enormous gladiator Spartacus will mercilessly beat you for 500 gold. You will be stronger. Pay the brute. No, not quite yet. These are all skills which will increase your accuracy or your chances of hitting. Hello there, Gleeser, is that the correct pronunciation? Welcome to the stream. Yeah, this is probably isn't a game that very many play on stream. Thanks for the follow, Gleeser. But I like these games and I like this series. So when I decided to I would start streaming these old RPGs, I decided to start with this series. I would have started with the first game, but I completed it not too long ago. But I never actually completed number 2 in the series. I played it when I was a kid, and here's the original box of the game that I played as a kid. And I played it on a Mac, so I'm playing it again on a Mac. I played it on my father's Mac SE, and now I'm playing it on an emulator, but a fairly decent one. Yeah, that's I've seen the both the PC and the Amiga version of this game, and both the PC and the Amiga version of the game are pretty much direct ports of the Apple II version, which is probably the one that John coded first, because the John was the programmer of this series, and the eventual owner of New World Computing was an Apple II owner, and when he started programming the first game, he did it in his spare time, and according to an interview that I read once, he spent almost 3 years basically as a bedroom programmer programming the first game. And the interface for game number 1 and 2 on the PC and on the Apple II are very similar, whereas this game on the Mac and game number 1 on the Mac is very different. It has this fairly nice graphical interface, and for version 2 of the game, after the Mac 2 had been released, they offered a color version as well, which is the version we are playing. I have both versions of the game installed, both the color and the black and white version, and they are pretty much identical except for the graphics being in color. And I think other than the very much later version that arrived for the Trooper graphics, which actually looks very nice, this is the nicest looking version of the game. Okay, so that was the first release for the Mega Drive and the Genesis. I know for a fact that game number 1 was never released on the Amiga, for example. It is available for the Mac, and it is available for the Apple II. And it's not wildly different from game number 2. A little bit shorter, slightly fewer dungeons. And a slightly smaller playing area, but many of the spells are similar, and some things like the elemental planes and the existence of time travel is also similar. These statues here are giving us some hints. So the hints that we've received so far all have a king in their lair: water, fire, earth and air. They hold the talents that you need to save Kron before it's time. So what we know is that we were given a hint at some point that the game ends in the year 1000, so we need to find these items and piece them all together before that time. No, this is definitely not a game that you start thinking that you'll complete in 20 hours, because this is stream number 7. I've already spent 21 hours playing this game. I've played these games before. I recently completed game number 1, and I'm still at the stage where I'm only at level 9, so I assume this will take me some 30 streams of 3 hours. It's a progress that will take me at least 100 hours. And probably more, because what happens a lot in this game is that you've made some progress, but you haven't gone back and saved your progress, and then you perish very suddenly in a random encounter that where the roll of the dice doesn't go your way. So you have to go back and try again. And I mentioned it earlier on stream that I like the way this game makes you go to the end to save your progress, in the sense that it makes the game that much harder, because if you were able to save at any point in the game, it would probably become a little bit easy, because you could just try some of these battles again and again and again with hardly any effort. But as is, you have to tread very carefully so you don't die and have a chance to go back and heal up. Now this is the 4th town in the game that we're currently exploring, and this one is filled with secret levels all over. There are hidden walls everywhere, and encounters to be found in every corner. When I'm roaming around, I tend to check every wall, because there are these hidden messages on these walls all over the place. So it makes sense to check everything. Now these warps are highly annoying, and we are in a situation now where we can't use magic. So what I will attempt to do here is I will attempt to run. We will end up with some dead characters, but it beats being completely dead, which is what would have happened, because since we are unable to cast magic and already sustained a lot of damage, we would have died pretty much instantly. So at least now we can cure up and go attempt this battle again. We will go and save and then attempt it again. $5,400 gold seems like a low price to pay to resurrect 2 party members. Yeah, this game was fun enough that I saw this game in a gaming shop here in Iceland when I was 11 years old, and I didn't have my own computer at the time. I had just sold my Commodore 64, and it was one of those moments where I knew I had to play a game, and I managed to convince my father that it was a very good idea that I play this game on his Mac, and he eventually allowed me to do that. Go backwards exploit, how did that work? That's a good question. It has never occurred to me to try. But we could try it. Should be fairly easy to try it. We found the treasure here. We can go out again. Where did we come in again? Here. One of the weird things about this game in general is that some things only spawn if you're going in a certain direction, and I'm fairly sure that was an attempt to save memory during programming, because no, if we go backwards into this battle, for example, it still happens. But I've noticed this, and it's like this in the first game as well. And when you're mapping the outside areas, you have to walk the map from east to west, and then you have to walk the entire map again from north to south, because some items don't trigger unless you're facing a certain direction. And there are a few examples of this already, where at least one of the fountains, for example, it only triggers and tells you about the fountain if you're coming at the fountain from the north. If you're running up north and you face the fountain, then it tells you there's a fountain. But if you come from the south or from the east or west, it won't trigger in exactly the same square. So it's probably due to the game trying to save some memory, and that's probably also the reason why some of the battles only trigger if you go forward and not backwards. But apparently, at least for this particular battle, it didn't matter whether you were facing front or back. And it's one of the things when you're mapping on the outside, you just need to be aware of this fact, so that you try walking from every direction, otherwise you will perhaps miss something that you should have seen. These panels are very much a roll of the dice. Sometimes you get very lucky, like in this particular case. These are some 20 goblins. They're harder to kill when we can't use magic, but they're not difficult at all. But we had some of the battles that we fought earlier were extremely difficult. We ended up in a battle earlier with 22 of the crazed natives, which are near impossible to kill at our current level, let alone when you can't use magic. We'll have to use the cure disease spell here on these characters. And then we will attempt the last square in here. And here are 13 of these crazed natives. This is an extremely difficult battle. I will simply run away and retry the same spawn point. We will see what happens there. Then we get a much easier battle. Yeah, the hirelings I currently have is the barbarian here at which is situated number 2, and the Sir Hiram the Knight. And I found both of them in the caverns beneath Middlegate, first town, and I have been slowly leveling them up. I still haven't found the other hirelings, and I'm waiting for that a little bit because I want to get rid of Droke at this point. He's become very expensive. Whereas Sir Hiram the Knight is a very good hireling character. He's still very cheap. Droke is a way too expensive for what he brings. I don't know if I don't remember if I showed you this before, but Droke is some 762 per day. Oh, good. I've played some of this game before, and I did return to it at some point, using the PC version, and I still mostly remember everything I've been doing, but half the fun is is discovering all of this again, and my current plan is to finish this one and then move to the third one and play that on the Amiga, which I played it on originally, and then I might try my hand at the fourth one, which I haven't played, and then on a PC, because I think the fourth game in the series, it's definitely not available on the Amiga, and it might have been available on the Mac, but I'm more interested in playing it on the PC, because at that point most of these strategic games had made their way to the PC. We found a lava grenade in the corner. The lava grenade is the fireball spell, so I will trade that with a sorcerer. It might come in handy to have a usable item in battle which casts the fireball spell. Might save our butt at some point. Yeah, I'm playing this mostly without any helpers. I'm not using any automapper or any such tool. When I was playing number 1 in the series, I probably went too far, because I mapped it manually using Excel as a tool, and I probably spent as long mapping the game as I did playing it, but in version 2 they added this cartographer skill, so you can have the game map the area for you, and that's plenty. It's an enormous help to be able to do that, so you don't have to manually map everything, and that makes the fact that you don't have some sort of automapper much easier to live with. We're doing okay with mapping this town. It's mostly gone well. And we are again in a situation where we can't use magic, so we want to get rid of these screaming pots so they don't attack us. Then we can beat down the cockatrices before they turn us all to stone. Yeah, in the box that I have here of the game, I have quite a few sheets of paper where I've written and drawn maps and little hints all over the place. Basically, the box is full of paper. There's nothing in the box but paper, and I could tell from the paper how far I had gotten in the actual game, but also in the box is the original map of the game. The green screen on the green screen effect on the camera is doing havoc here, but the original map that you could basically post on your wall is still in the box, and the box is very beat up because I played this game a lot, although I never really got very far. And judging by the data that is actually in the box, I seem to have finished about 4 of the towns and a few of the caverns before giving up on the game. But then again, I was 11 and 12 years old, so maybe that's understandable. But I don't remember being frustrated with the game, so that means that I had fun, although I didn't finish the game. So now we will continue from the point where we got turned to stone. This is difficult, particularly without the ability to use magic. We will simply have to attack these. Not a lot we can do. We made it through and we gained some almost 5,000 experience points. We won quite a few of these battles. You like 2 and 6 the most. Yeah, I've liked this. I liked 1 quite a bit, and 1 and 2 are in many ways very similar. And I was actually very fond of number 3 as well. But I haven't played 4, 5, or 6, so 6 might turn out to be my favorite after all. I have to watch our status carefully here. If we get to a point where I think we're going to lose this battle, I might be tempted to run away. These mutants are seem to be fairly hard to hit, but I think we'll survive. Yep, we do. And now we'll go outside and rest again before attempting the there's probably the last battle here in this particular square. Remove our cursed condition and even cast the blessed spell. We can't do that without being in combat, and we can't do it in combat because we aren't allowed to use magic. So 3 gatekeepers and a mutant shrine. Fine. We made it through. Sort of tempted to go here and see whether there are some secret areas. No, there are not, so it's safe to go back and save our progress. Rest first, and then I think we'll go visit the blacksmith, take a look at the items that we found. We have a cold shield +3. A potentially useful shield. We have a 2-handed weapon here on these characters, but this is a better shield than the Highland Knight currently has, so we'll remove his great shield and replace it with a cold shield, which will, in addition to giving him a higher armor class, also increases resistance to cold spells of all sorts. The question now remains whether we have someone that could have some use of this great shield +2. The paladin can't currently wear a shield. Neither can the archer. At least I don't think he can. No, he can't. We're already wearing a fire shield here. It's possible that the cleric can wear the shield. Yeah, he can. So I will level him up his armor class a little bit. I'll trade the small shield with the knight to sell it. Okay, so 6 is the best of the new engine version. At some point the New World Computing and the associated trademarks got sold to I think it was Ubisoft. Which game is the first of the Might and Magic that is, do you know? Which one is the first one that was released by Ubisoft? Oh, X is Ubisoft, so the ones up to 9 are all New World Computing. Okay. Yeah, so they didn't really have the money to finish developing the game. Let's see. There's a silver shield +2 here, which we might be interested in. Potentially for the cleric. Let's see if he can wear it. Not necessarily. We're at 16. Yeah, we can. So we will rather wear the silver shield +2, which gives us additional resistance to energy, than the great shield +2. We will sell the great shield +2. And the small shield that we had. Then we have a halberd +5, which I believe is a considerably better weapon than the barbarian currently has. Remove. Equip. Wrong alignment, okay. We will try our luck with the paladin. See if he can wear it. He's currently using a great axe +2, but this is a better weapon. So potentially if he can use it, it does more damage, and he can't. So it's not neutral or good, which means that it's evil only. And that limits our choices to the robber, which is the only evil member of the cast. So we aren't able to use this weapon. We will simply sell it. And then we have a leather suit +4. Potentially useful. Leather suit is 3, so it's 7. Since we fixed the that, maybe if the barbarian can wear it, he's basically the only member of the cast where this might be useful. That would actually help significantly, and he can, so he's up to some 15. That's very useful. He's been a major burden armor class wear wise for a while now. We're going to sell this, and I'm going to keep this max hit potion. It's useful. It basically, as I remember it, it raises your hit points to 999, which can certainly come in handy for some battles. Now let's see, let's explore the rest of the squares in this temple here to have them on the map. This is an encounter with some kobolds, some windmares, and some dancing deads. Hopefully we are able to use magic here. I want to get rid of these. No. Just a moment ago these would have been more difficult, but as you level up, your resistance to these sleep spell automatically increases quite a bit. So something that would have been very difficult just a few levels ago is not that hard. And we made it through. We need to fix this disease condition here. Okay, that one is done. There's another one on the other side, probably with an encounter here. Yes, and you're probably also not able to use any magic here. Oh. So it's just a matter of quick fighting ourselves through this. No treasure to be found, but some experience to be gained. There's a hidden square there, obviously, and another one here. So this has an entrance from here and an encounter. What are the odds that we can use magic? Are actually good this time around. There are a couple of these sludge beasts here. I will try to get rid of them. And the super sprites. Being able to use magic makes this significantly easier. We can use the Deadly Swarm, for example. And then the rest is easy. Remove the curse condition. Nothing else here. We can go out again. What are the odds that going forward is an encounter? They're fairly high. Hey Longshanks, welcome to the stream. Nice to see you. We're in the middle of fighting some monsters here in the fourth town in this game. Slowly making our way through here. Now let's see here. How do we gain entrance to this area here? Somewhere here is a hidden wall. So this is how we gain access. Probably a wise idea to go to the inn and save our progress before we move forward here. We're at least able to use magic now for these monsters. That helps. These are actually of the mounted soldiers. These are fairly difficult. They have quite a few hit points and decently high armor class, so without being able to use magic, they're all the more difficult. We already have 2 party members that are unconscious, but then again, we haven't really been using any healing spells. Just relied on magical spells to do damage. This is a huge treasure. We found some 2,500 gold per character and some good items as well. Heal the characters and rest before moving on. And this is the only encounter in this room. And then there is another potential room on the other side. There's a door here. Yeah, we want to buy access to the guild. We already did so earlier, but we died shortly afterwards, so that would not have been saved. So we would need to do it again. You could tell by the fact that we hadn't visited this square before that we hadn't bought the pass to the guild yet. Now the question remains, how do we get into this particular hidden area here? Here we are. I would say there's a decent chance there's an encounter or two in this room. See what we have here. We have 13 fools, 4 of these flesh eaters, and some of these cursed slayers. Let's see. They're not undead, but they have some 50 hit points and an armor class of 13. Okay. The fool is a distant relative of the juggler, which is one of the more annoying monsters in the early parts of the game. The fool is able to hit you with some ball magic, but he's courteous. He waits his turn. The juggler does not, and what the juggler does is that he attacks you. He attacks every member of the party at the same time, does an extensive amount of damage, and in addition to that, he reorders the entire party so that members that are in the back, they move to the front. And that usually means that your spellcasters, for example, end up as the front-facing members, and since they usually have a lower armor class, they die. Yeah, it generally, in some cases, yes, if you're at a very high level, you just get more. So it counters the fact that you've leveled up by adding more monsters. But it also takes your level somewhat into account. So if you're fighting a battle that is supposed to be difficult in the game, it will also give you harder enemies if you leveled up than it would if you were a level lower. So it does try to make sure that the difficult battles are still difficult, even if you're fighting a battle at a late stage in the game, which you should have fought at some earlier stage. So the battles do at least get more difficult as you move on. I remember in the first game, which I completed about maybe 2 years ago, there was a single battle that involved 3 dragons. That was very difficult, and gave you a very high number of experience points, and it also gave you significant treasure. And when I had leveled up quite a bit in that game, I went back to that area and I did that battle maybe 50 times. And each time I got the same amount of experience points, and I obviously found the same treasure. So eventually I was able to level up just by completing that fight over and over and over again. And that enabled me to continue, because in game number 1 and in number 3 as well, I have always had these periods where it seems that I'm just a little bit short of being able to beat the monsters, and I need to grind for a bit to gain more experience so I can move on. And that just seems to be what you have to do sometimes. So there are now these 2 hidden squares here. And we can cast magic, so that helps. But in this particular case, these are fairly easy monsters. We can just bust them down. Nothing to be found here. So that leaves this area here, and you can pretty much bet that this is an encounter as well. And the druids make this more difficult. We won't be able to cast any spells, so we will simply have to melee ourselves out of this battle here, which will be fine. What does get easier as you progress is that for every level you gain more automatic resistance to some of these spells, like silence and sleep, paralysis, and that makes the game far easier. I've ended up quite a few times in just this run dead from ending up in a situation where every character is paralyzed and then you automatically die. Everyone is healthy. I'm gonna go and check out some of the stuff we found here. Let's see. I like to use this fairly simplistic method of wondering whether I should equip something, that I simply look at the selling price, and if it has a very high selling price, then I consider the item, but otherwise I just sell it. There are so many items that you find that if you were to go through and each and every one of them wondering if you could use it, you could spend half the game doing so. Here's a Thieves Pick +2. I think we already have a Thieves Pick +3, so that's not an item that we need. Let's sell it. And now we'll take a look at selecting these items here. Obviously the rapid katana is very valuable here. I'm gonna check the that's really only for the ninja class, and what it does, it gives you additional speed as well. It gives you a speed bonus of 6, which is significant. So if we had a ninja, this would be a very good weapon. So what I'm going to do, in case we find a ninja at some later stage in the game, I'm going to keep this one. Yeah, the knight can basically wear any sword, and he can use most of the two-handed weapons. There are very few, I think there are almost no weapons that the knight can't use. The knight can basically use all of them, and the paladin can mostly use all of them as well, because the paladin is basically just a knight that can also cast spells. But then the rest are more limited in what they can do. And I keep this web guide open here in the back, and I peek at it regularly. Most of this information is available. Some of it is available in the manual, so it's just more handy to have it here on a web page, so I can look it up. What I was going to check now is whether the robber already had a better knife, and he does not. He has a +3 knife, so thinking of trading this with the robber and seeing if he can use it. Yeah, that's one more damage point, and I can then trade this item and sell it. That's an improvement. We will take it. So we're almost done mapping this town. We visited pretty much every square. There are 3 squares remaining, I think. Yeah, no, slightly more, 6. Wild section is the label on the door, so I assume that these are encounters, every single one of them. But we can cast spells, so that's easier. Although this interface on the Mac is point and click, pretty much all the keyboard shortcuts that are in the PC, Amiga, and Apple II version of the game are here. You just need to press command to use them. So it's not difficult at all to control most of this action with the keyboard. You don't have to use the mouse for pretty much anything except for casting spells. But hello Slabbity Slap, welcome to the stream. yeah, I think Gleaser mentioned earlier that he played around with that version of the game as well. And these games were ported to pretty much any platform you could think of. Game number 1 in the series was, in addition to being ported to pretty much every 8-bit system, was ported to many of the 16-bit systems as well. And this game was ported to most of the consoles, and strangely ported to most of the Japanese systems as well. So the most recent version of this game is to be found on the TurboGrafx. I think that game was actually released in 1991, some 3 years after the original was released. And going through the Wikipedia page for the game before I played it, I could see that all the graphics for that particular version have been redone. So I think the best graphics in the game are actually in that particular version of it. But that version, which I could have played on my Mister, happens to be all in Japanese, which is a minor problem because I don't speak a single word of Japanese. Oh yeah, so it's one of the cartridges that has a battery in it. Okay. Yeah, this game is practically unplayable if you can't save your state. There's no way you're going to be able to complete it in one turn. So if you can't save your state, the game is pretty much ruined. And when I was checking out these games, I gave some consideration into starting out with game number 1 and playing the version that John, the author of these games, originally coded on the Apple II, which would then be the original version of the game. And I was going to play it using the Apple II core on the Mister, but then I found out that due to the overwhelming complexities of the many different disk formats for the Apple II, the Apple II core on the Mister doesn't support writing to disk. So that would have meant that I couldn't save my progress in game number 1, so that made absolutely no sense. So I decided against it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a quick peek here into the cavern beneath. Yeah, I bought the Gleaser. I bought the Good Old Games version, the collection that came out. I have that as well, and that's the version I used to play game number 1 in the series on the DOSBox. And yeah, those Good Old Games does a lot of great work in bringing some of these classics back to life. And in this particular case, they've done some patching, and what I like even more is that they usually don't have any digital rights management or DRM on any of these titles. So I was able to take the gaming files in the directory from Good Old Games and simply port them over to an old PC, and they work fine. So you can in fact take the game and port it back to an older system, and it will still work. So it works on the modern system, and it also works fine on an older system. What what I had forgotten about this cavern is that it's filled with these lava pits, and if you step in them, you sustain a great number of hit points of damage. So what is good to do down here is that it's a good idea to cast protection from the elements, which I don't seem to have on this. I seem to have never learned that particular spell for this cleric. Should probably fix that, but I'll cast it using the paladin for now. That should help reduce the damage a little bit. But if we do this, we have to step out of it again, rest, and recast the spell. And there are quite a few of these pits all over. And we will simply have to remember where they are so we don't continually step into them. Okay, so they mixed up the different games in the series. Yeah, that would have not made it easier because there are quite a few similarities between versions 1 and 2. They are not exactly the same, but the town names are different, and some of the monsters are different, but there are many similarities. So it's if you haven't played either in a long time, you could easily confuse them. Now, what we need to do now is that we need to return to the surface because we've run out of food. So we can't rest anymore. So we should head back, avoiding the pit. We'll save our progress here, and then we'll go to the bar and buy some food. At hiked up prices, feeding frenzy, all you can carry, $2.50. And then we'll go back downstairs, explore a little bit more. Okay, so it has basically the same name, but it doesn't actually state that it's number 2 in the title. Okay. My computer ownage is that I had originally a Sinclair Spectrum. My father bought a Sinclair Spectrum. I brought it home just before Christmas 1983, and some 5 years later I got a Commodore 64, and shortly after that my father got a Mac which I played this game on, and then in 1990 I got an Amiga 500, which I then sold and replaced with an Amiga 4000 that is actually still sitting here next to me. and that I will use to play the next game in the series. And I used my Amiga until almost 2000, but I had a PC at the side for a long time before that, probably from 94, when it was started to get more difficult to do some things on the Amiga. It was Commodore had gone bankrupt and the support was dwindling, but I enjoyed my Amiga immensely. It had a lot of good things going for it, and in the later years of owning the Amiga, I didn't really use it a lot to play games. I played games mostly on the PC. I used the Amiga for internet applications and productivity, where it with a decent accelerator was actually a fairly nice system. Let's see. Yeah, I was lucky enough to have access to these various systems, and I remember the Spectrum very fondly, because when we got the Spectrum I had never used a computer before, and I was 6 years old at the time, and English is my third language, so I didn't really know any English, but I figured out some simple programming from the manual that came with the machine, and I typed pretty much everything in the manual into the machine, and I spent so much time with the included games. I don't actually remember us ever buying any other games than the ones that came with the system, but there was a decent starter pack that came with it, some 8 games and some learning programs as well. So I played all of them to bits, and there were some classic games in that collection, including Jetpack and Pissed. So I remember the Spectrum being a lot of fun, and the Commodore 64 even more so. That's the first system that I owned, because I pestered my parents endlessly until they agreed that they would combine my birthday and Christmas present into the Commodore 64. My birthday happens to be the week before Christmas, so I was often able to use that to my advantage. Try to pry out a more expensive present. This is a weird little room. There's nothing in it. And as is often the case with these rooms, particularly in the later levels of the game, the secret way into the room and the secret way out of the room is not the same block. So you need to figure out how to get out as well. This is a long and winding dungeon that we're in here, and we keep stepping into these pits. We need to be careful of avoiding them as much as we can. Yeah. That was the case with me as well. When you got given some money, you needed to save that money. It was not really your money, even if you were given it. So you had to buy something that was likely to sustain its value, or at least wasn't very frivolous. I remember using part of the money that I got in my after my confirmation to buy my Amiga, which was at the time at least pretty much a substantial investment. It was very expensive. It's weird how that came about, because my mother and father had some tenants that were living in the extra rooms downstairs, and one of them, which became to be a pretty good friend of mine, had an Amiga 500, and I was allowed to play on the system a little bit, and I absolutely fell in love with it. There's a message here on the wall: a sudden draft sends a chill up your spine as a voice whispers. The air disk is at X15 Y15 in Cavern. Okay. We've been finding the locations of these different disks throughout the dungeons in the game. We already know about the water disk and the earth disk and the fire disk, so I believe we found the location of all 4 disks now. All of the disks that we've found so far, or the information about so far, are located inside the castles, and I made an attempt some 2 streams ago to visit one of the castles, and we were nowhere near leveled up enough to be able to do anything in the castle. We kept ending up dead, and I eventually came up and went back to town. We had an interesting little battle here with one of the 4 fire demons after stepping into the pit, and it was very deadly, and in the interest of saving all of our mapping, I decided to run away and face the cost of restoring our condition rather than lose all of it. But that was expensive. Because we haven't really won any treasure down in the caverns yet. We've just been exploring. There have been no encounters except for this fire beast. This is a very, very, very long winding corridor. We can continue a little bit here and explore the rest of this side of the map here. There is probably a fairly extensive hidden area somewhere here, because we seem to run out of open squares here. It's tough to remember all of these pits. I'm starting to remember some of them, but there are a great deal of them. There's another long corridor down here. We should probably finish this part of the map now, since we're here anyway. Maybe try to finish half of this cavern, and then I'm probably going to call it a night. We were lucky enough now that we were able to escape. It seems that every now and again when you step into one of these pits, you also end up in a battle with some of these fire demons, which of course were nowhere near ready to fight when we've just stepped into a pit of lava. And this seems to be one of the points where this just always happens. And this time around we didn't even get a chance to run away. So we will keep that in mind when we try again. Yeah, the 128 was a peculiar beast. It is, however, in my opinion, the most interesting of the Commodore 8-bits because Commodore marketing had basically promised everyone that it would be Commodore 64 compatible, but the hardware design was mostly new, so for all intents and purposes it is really two different machines. It is Commodore 128 and it is a Commodore 64, and it has basically two copies of some of the hardware. In addition to that, they had already promised CPM compatibility, so it does in fact have a 2 MHz 8-bit 6502 compatible CPU, which is twice the speed of the Commodore 64 and is speed limited when you go into the 64 mode. So it has a CPU that is halved in speed when you go to 64 mode. In addition to that, it also has a C80 processor like the Commodore Spectrum does, and that is used to execute the CPM code. And it has a special graphics chip which is just used on the 128 mode, which enables 80 column, and another graphics chip that is used on the Commodore 64 mode to enable all the classic Commodore 64 video modes. So it has two sets of video chips. It has two CPUs. It's capable of running 3 really separate ROM operating systems, and it's a huge mix of different systems all rolled into one computer. And when you turn it on, it basically executes the Z80 processor first and checks if there's a CPM disk in the drive, and if there isn't, it switches to the 6502 compatible CPU and launches into 128 mode, or if you're holding down the Commodore key, it goes directly to 64 mode. So it's one of the more interesting boot sequences in an 8-bit computer. Look at X0, Y6 and the Luxus Palace Royal for the A1 Totalor. So the main quest items in this game are these discs and these special items. There is the A1 Totalor that we just found out about. There is the M27 Radicon, the J26 Fluxer, the N19 Capitor. These are all items that you need to be able to finish the game. And around these dungeons, which you will eventually visit, they have laid these clues as to where you can find these items. But At least in the first game, I found that you basically have to check every square of every map and find all of these items to be able to complete the game. There are some sub-quests that you can simply skip. The game isn't 100% linear. But most of them you can't skip. This is not a good idea. I will try to run away here and hope that I succeed, which I did, but with most of the cast members dead. But I will take that anyway and restore. As we had done a bit of exploring and I want to keep that status. Luckily for us, 2 of these were hirelings, which we don't have to pay to restore. But this is turning out to be an expensive adventure downstairs. We will save our state here, and then we will make one more trip downstairs. Yeah, the programming on these old 8-bits is a pretty great experience. There is no operating system to speak of. There is the ROM kernel that is running that has a few routines that you can access, but for the most part the entire computer is open to you and you can access pretty much any address that you want. And if you have some of the utility cartridges for the Commodore 64, you can easily have an assembler and a monitor running on the ROM cartridge while running the actual code in the memory of the Commodore 64. So you can both program, debug and monitor your code all on the same machine. So that's useful. And there are some attempts being made right now, for example by the 8-bit guy, to bring back a system of similar simplicity that is fairly open and can be easily accessed by programmers. Because modern day programming is full of layers and is far more complex to learn than the fairly simple environment of an 8-bit machine. We still haven't found a way to access the hidden area here. We're hindered a little bit by these endless pits. Now let's see. Where were we when we died here? I think we were in the end here. Or nearly died, I should say. This is the point of entrance, the bottommost. So this is one of the areas. And this is a bubbling lava pit. And we're able to successfully run away But there's a question of whether we need to finish off this fight before we're able to cross into the other room. It's entirely possible that the only entrance to that particular room is through finishing that particular battle. It's worth it perhaps to finish the round here, but this seems difficult. The trick to getting up here is to crawl around this part of the wall, avoiding these endless pits. I believe we tried almost every single wall here, but just in case we missed one, I'll try some of them again. We've at least now tried almost all of them, except for the ones where I know there's a pit. It makes it more difficult for us to do so, because if we can't make it to the next square, we will end up in the pit again, which will do us in. Yeah, we now have access to the teleport spell, which is very useful. Again, we end up in this battle with the flaming fear. And it's an almost certain death. So there's not much to be gained by trying to get ourselves out of this fight. We haven't really made any real progress. So I will go back to the area where we were before. I'm fairly certain we won't be able to get into the secret room here without finishing these battles, and we are a fair way away from it being able to do that. So what I will try to do now, I will try to run. That didn't go very well for us, so I think we'll just try again. What I was hoping for was that we would be able to run away and keep them up, but it isn't strictly necessary. We aren't going to be able to complete it anyway. What I want to do before I retire, I want to go down this path here and finish mapping that. And then I will try my hand on the next stream with the rest of this map here, try to map the basic parts, and we will leave the parts that we can't access for a later time, and go back to mapping the outside of the game, which is probably more suited to our current level than this is, at least for the time being. Because this seems very difficult right now. So, okay, there is obviously a secret area here as well. This is one way to enter into it. So, another hint here, Deadeye and Red Duke are in Bolzark's control in D1 at X14Y1. I'm fairly sure these two characters, Deadeye and Red Duke, are hirelings, which we can rescue. So D1 isn't very far from where we were when we were mapping the outside. It's entirely possible that we simply go there and try our luck next time. This sign says keep trying. And that's sort of what we have been doing. We've been trying a lot. So okay. We've now mapped close to half of this. There was a lava pit that I had forgotten about. And another one. I'm curious to see if we can go back in the other direction, which does not seem to be the case. So there is also a large area here in the middle that is secret, that we need to find the entrance to. %90 chance that the next square is a pit, and also a fairly high chance of an encounter at some point here. Yeah, you can use the teleport spell to do that, and you can also sometimes use the there is a spell that you get fairly early on called the jump spell, which basically just jumps 2 steps ahead in whichever direction you're facing. Doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. So you can use the teleport spell. Perhaps I could do that instead of just trying to find the entrance, but I sort of like doing it that way. But the other is certainly easier. So now we've mapped all of the easily accessible areas here, and there's a lot of space remaining, which we haven't been able to map, but I'm one thing we could do there, we could try this spell. And it works. The problem with most of these hidden areas is that we end up in these fights, and at this current point in time we're unable to complete, so we need a few more hit points and we need more protection from fire to be able to complete these. So we are not really ready to explore the hidden areas down there anyway. So I will return to this cavern at a later date. The next stream I will either continue on the outside, or I will give the 5th round a try before completing the cavern in this one. It's entirely possible that we can mostly finish the town itself, although we're not ready for the cavern of this particular one. So that will be Atlantium, which is the water city. So this has been mostly productive. I'm going to check before we exit for the night. I'm going to check how far away we are from leveling up. The single skill characters need 60k plus minus. The dual skill characters still need some almost 200,000. So we've moved a little bit, but there haven't really been that many encounters, so not a lot of experience gained this time around. Yeah, that's the every time you need to go upstairs, everything resets, so you have to do everything again. So and for these squares where these encounters take place, you need to finish the encounter before you can return to that same place without facing it again. So when you can't finish these encounters, it becomes so difficult to even map the locations. We need to make it to the stage where we can survive these encounters fairly easily, and if we're able to do that, then perhaps we can finish mapping. And I'm at least going to try to I'm gonna take the cleric to the temple in the second town and have him learn the protection from element spell, and try to have the cleric, which is has a spelling level of 5, cast the protection from element spell, and perhaps that is enough for us to be able to survive these battles. I'll at least give it a shot in the next stream, but until then we should probably leave for the night. I'm wondering if I should raid someone. If anyone is actually on. Let's see. Yeah, thanks guys for coming here and watching the stream. It's very much appreciated. It's been great fun. Thanks for coming. I think I'll raid Dr. DCS. He plays a lot of these older adventure games on the PC, and his channel is always a lot of fun. So with that, I'll start the raid, and I hope to see you here again next time. Thanks for coming, guys, and have a nice night.